Annyeonghaseyo YouTube. Welcome to my Celestial Dragon TaiJi series. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. I'm gonna put the link in the description below to part 1. Make sure you check that out. We have a wonderful intro and an outro by my good friend Harley, aka Ang. He has an awesome rap. I'm gonna have a little intro before this video. Make sure you stick around after the video to see the full song. He's amazing. He's from Australia, down under. He's doing great things. Thank you so much, Harley, for letting me sample your sound and help share it with the world. So make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. I really appreciate all the support. I hope you enjoy this video. 안녕하세요.
Check it out, this is Ang on the mic. This is called Big Mind. Here we go, with a paper and a pen at my disposal. I create paragraphs out of an enclosure, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. The scenery change, make you shiver in the rays. With a lot of people, don't know about me, said I got a big mind. Stretch out to infinity, gotta find a balance, gotta strike a harmony between life's callings and the things that are harming me. You were starting me every time you slip back.
So this becomes a weight-bearing exercise. So that helps build strength in the muscles. When we're moving the hip joint here, that helps keep your hip joint healthy. There's lubrication called synovial fluid that's in your joints. And when we're moving like this, you're helping circulate that fluid within the hip joint, keeping that hip joint nice and healthy. This also helps with flexibility, which is so important for our martial artists and our athletes. Being able to have flexibility in that hip really helps with athletic movements. So when I put my hands like this in front here, what I like to do here is, remember with this, when we're here, to keep our Wuji principles, to keep our alignment and structure in check, I put my hands out like this, because when you're folding, you want to fold from the hip. You're not twisting from your upper body, you're not twisting your spine, you're not twisting your shoulders. The movement comes from this hip here. And when I put my hands out in front here, it helps me remember to move from this hip. Because if I'm moving from my upper body here, I can tell with my hands out here that I'm not being true to the principles. So having my hands out here in like a kind of like a moon shaped, almost like you're holding a ball or something, that also helps keep this space open up. Now when you shift back, you're gonna have to shift to 100% weight here. So you shift, make sure that you keep your focus and your alignment straight ahead. Shift back here, this foot comes back. We shift over to this side, close this foot, because remember that foot was at 45 degrees. We close our empty foot, we shift over here, shift over to your left foot here. Now this foot turns out at 45 degrees. This is the empty foot right now. Full here, 45 degrees. Once this is at 45 degrees, we shift back over here. Now this foot is empty, this leg is empty, that floats up. Remember, when you step, you take that step, we call it an empty step. You take the heel, peel the heel up first. You can feel that your toes come up last. Now we move that foot, the heel, right in front of where those toes were. And remember, you go straight ahead. Try not to narrow your stance. Don't take it too wide. Right where it was, so that when you shift forward into your 70-30 stance, you're still shoulder width apart. right, that looks about good. So now we shift here. Keep that lower back, keep that tailbone tucked. That flattens the lower back, so when you shift forward, you still have that alignment, structure, and power going forward. Now we're shifted onto this foot. So the majority of our weight is here, 70% here, 30% back here, and then we add our TaiJi hip. Now it may look very subtle. You may not see a whole lot of movement here. One thing that when I was first starting, you gotta make sure to not keep your knee too tight here. If your knee is too tight and if the knee is too tight, it makes it difficult. You can actually, when I first started, I would do this, and over time, my knee was still too tight. I wasn't able to relax it, and eventually I started to have a little bit of pain in that knee. So make sure that you are checking in with your joints, making sure you're keeping them open, the ligaments and tendons around it. You really gotta go deep and learn how to connect your neuromuscular system, learn how to relax those antagonistic muscles. What you want to do here is try to use the path of least resistance. And what I mean by that is you want to engage the major muscle groups while letting go, releasing the antagonistic muscles. So we're only using the muscles that are necessary to support our weight here. That is the path of least resistance. If you're just starting, you know, like when I was starting 10 years ago, that was a little bit difficult to do, and it takes, you know, practice, it takes patience, it takes you being honest and true with yourself and recognizing when you're holding too much tension in a certain part of your body. And if you start to stay on this leg, keep your weight, the majority of your weight here, remember I said this becomes a weight-bearing exercise. You're engaging just the major muscle groups. So that is your quadriceps here. And then you have to check in with your knee. You really have to go internally and tell yourself, hey, I need to relax that knee joint. Because when you're doing this, if the knee is too tight, the knee can actually kind of pull a little bit and start to almost bring it out of alignment. So if you're practicing this for any amount of time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you really got to check in with that. Practice on making sure that that knee is still loose. And there's gonna, you can never eliminate all of the tension. You need to have a little bit of structure here. The main thing is that you're not twisting the knee. When you're doing this, make sure you're doing the movement from the hip joint. You don't want to be making your knee, try not to get the movement from the knee, and that's really gonna take some practice. So I hope you beginners out there don't get too frustrated if you aren't able to properly relax that knee. With time, it'll come with practice. Hopefully you have a good teacher in your area that can help you to discover ways how to go deeper into your body. You got to make that mind and body connection. A lot of this comes from your mind. A lot of these exercises stem from the mind. And your mind has to communicate with your body. Your body communicates back with your mind, and eventually you start to find a healthy balance, find a centeredness, and it becomes a really great exercise. I mean, the benefits that you get from doing mind-body exercises like this, it really starts to add up with consistent practice and feeds the spirit. When we're practicing mind-body exercises, it feeds the spirit. And
this is Ang on the mic. This is called Big Mind. Here we go. With a paper and a pen at my disposal, I create paragraphs that open and close you, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. The scenery change, make you shiver in the rays. A lot of people don't know about me, said I got a big mind, stretch out to infinity. Gotta find a balance, gotta strike a harmony between life's callings and the things that are harming me. You were starting me every time you slip back into a trance with your thoughts and your rhymes whack, cause a vision appears before our structure with scissors to your ears, gonna make sound rupture straight from my mouth and into your brain as I spin these wheels till I drive insane. It's a battle from the launch when I pave blades and I pay mates rates for the green I take. This the shit that I spit, that is lit, that is real now. Hit those goals, graduate from SoundCloud to Spotify to the radio, take that leap forward. Now here we go. The paper and a pen at my disposal, I create paragraphs that open and close you, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. A scenery change when you shiver in the rays. With a paper and a pen at my disposal, I create paragraphs that open and close you, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. Like a scenery change when you shiver in the rays. I rap for the peace that it brings me, and I last for the beast that's within me. To be non-true, yo, it means not to. It's why I feel one when it's me and you. And I didn't ask for life, but here it all is, all spread in front of me like a fearless king. And I hear the ring in my ears indicating everything I heard before resonating on the stage. And it's a stage, man, fuck you to the men who just stay there. It's amazing the felt displacement, like roaming a globe that we all were placed in. Home in a dome that we all once tasted. Roam in a zone that my mind is chasing. It's amazing, I was raised in a home that was cold in the warmth that I gazed. With a paper and a pen at my disposal, I create paragraphs that open and close you, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. I've scenery change when you shiver in the rays. With a paper and a pen at my disposal, I create paragraphs that open and close you, cause I chose to, like it's sunny when it rains. A scenery change when you shiver in the rays. I abbreviate, you don't know what that means, but it won't ever change. Set in the Everglades, you say things like I ain't ever gonna make it, but I made it to this world, you ain't ever gonna take it.